Episode 18. The Boardroom Battlefield. The conference room was all glass walls and sharp edges, the kind of place where deals were signed and futures rewritten. A long mahogany table stretched across the center, lined with the suited titans of Carver Holdings. At the head sat Mr. Carver himself, a silver-haired man with hawk-like eyes, tapping his pen against a table. Beside him, board members whispered among themselves. On one side of the room, Adrian, crisp and composed despite the storm brewing inside him. On the other, Richard, lounging in his chair like he already owned the place. And between them, hovering like a queen in her court, was Victoria. Maya sat quietly off to the side, hands folded in her lap, pretending she wasn't completely out of her depth. She'd promised herself she'd just observe, no meddling, but she had a sinking suspicion that just observing wasn't in the cards. "Gentlemen," Mr. Carver began, his voice slicing through the air, "we're here to discuss our representation going forward. Adrian, you've handled our legal affairs with competence for several years. Richard, you've made an aggressive case for why we should consider new counsel. I want this settled today." Richard leaned back, smirking. "With respect, sir, Adrian has done fine. But fine isn't enough. You need someone who will not only protect your interests but elevate them. My team has strategies that will save this company millions." Adrian's jaw tightened. "With respect, Richard, cutting corners and exploiting loopholes may save money in the short term, but it exposes Carver Holdings to long-term risk." Richard's smirk widened. "And there he goes again. Always the moral knight. The world isn't a fairy tale, Adrian. Companies like Carver need winners, not idealists." Adrian leaned forward, calm but firm. "And what happens when one of those loopholes collapses in court? When the shortcuts catch up with you? My approach may not glitter, but it holds," the board murmured, intrigued. Victoria, sensing Richard slipping, jumped in smoothly. "Of course, stability is admirable, but stability doesn't guarantee growth. The question is, can Adrian Cole keep up in a world that demands speed, innovation, and flexibility?" Her eyes flicked deliberately toward Maya. Maya felt the heat of the spotlight instantly. Mr. Carver raised an eyebrow. "And who is this?" Adrian stiffened. "This is Maya. She's Richard pounced. His new companion. She has no legal background, no corporate experience. Yet here she is, in a meeting with billion-dollar stakes. Does that sound professional to you, Mr. Carver?" The board murmured louder. Maya's stomach dropped. She wanted to sink through the floor. Adrian opened his mouth, but Maya spoke first. "Actually," she said, her voice clear, "I'm here because Adrian didn't want me waiting outside in the lobby like some secret. Which, if you ask me, is exactly the kind of transparency you'd want in your lawyer." The room went silent. Mr. Carver tilted his head. "Go on." Maya swallowed hard. "I might not know the first thing about corporate law, but I do know Adrian. He doesn't cut corners. He doesn't cheat. He doesn't take the easy way out, even when it would make his life a lot simpler. You want someone who'll fight for you like your company is his own? That's him." Richard snorted. "How touching." Maya turned on him, eyes flashing. "And you think money's the only measure of value. That's why you keep chasing shortcuts, because deep down, you know you can't beat him at playing fair." The board gasped softly. Adrian's chest swelled with pride and panic at the same time. "Maya," but Mr. Carver raised a hand, silencing the room. His gaze locked on Maya. "You're not a lawyer, yet you speak like someone who believes every word of what you just said." Maya held his stare. "That's because I do." For a long moment, silence stretched. Then Mr. Carver leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Interesting. Adrian, continue." Adrian cleared his throat, launching into his meticulously prepared presentation. Charts, projections, risk analyses, the works. And though Maya barely understood half of it, she could see the effect. The board leaned in, nodding, impressed. Richard tried to interject, painting Adrian as slow and outdated. Victoria backed him with icy precision. But the tide had shifted. Adrian's calm confidence, paired with Maya's fiery defense, had won momentum. By the end, Mr. Carver stood. "We'll deliberate and inform you of our decision, But I'll say this: loyalty and integrity still means something in this company. Adrian nodded. Respectful. Thank you, sir. The board filed out. Richard and Victoria lingered, their smiles brittle. You really think this is over? Richard sneered. Carver isn't the only client in the city. Adrian met his gaze evenly. Then I suggest you find one that doesn't mind shortcuts. Richard's eyes narrowed. Careful, Cole. You're making this personal. Adrian's tone was ice. It already was. Victoria stepped forward, her voice silk and steel. Don't get too comfortable, Adrian. One client doesn't make you untouchable. And Maya. Her gaze slid over to Maya like a blade. Enjoy the spotlight while it lasts. Maya smiled sweetly. Thanks. I plan to. Hours later, Adrian and Maya collapsed into his apartment, exhaustion clinging to them like a second skin. Adrian loosened his tie and dropped onto the couch. Maya followed, kicking off her shoes and curling beside him. So, did we win? Adrian rubbed his temples. It's not official yet. But Carver looked convinced. You were, he broke off, looking at her like he couldn't believe she was real. You were incredible. Maya shrugged, feigning nonchalance. What can I say? I have a flair for the dramatic. He chuckled, tugging her close. You know you nearly gave me a heart attack, right? Speaking up like that? Would you rather I stayed quiet while Barbie and Ken over there trashed you? Honestly? No, he kissed her temples softly. I don't know what I'd do without you. She froze for half a beat, heart thudding. Careful, Cole. That almost sounded like feelings. Almost? He teased, pulling her fully into his lap. Fine, she admitted, cheeks warm. It sounded exactly like feelings. Good, he murmured, before kissing her deeply. The world narrowed to the warmth of his mouth, the strength of his arms, the way everything else just fell away. When they finally broke apart, Maya was breathless. You're making it very hard for me not to fall for you, you know. Adrian's eyes burned into hers. Then don't fight it. Her heart flipped. She wanted to say something back, something that matched the intensity in his gaze. But before she could, Adrian's phone buzzed again. He groaned, reaching for it. Maya grabbed his wrist. Don't you dare. I have to check. No, she said firmly, climbing off his lap. One night. Just one night without Richard, or Victoria, or board members, or clients. Just us. He hesitated. Then, slowly, he turned the phone face down on the table. Maya grinned in triumph. See? Was that so hard? He tugged her back into his arms. Your trouble. Good trouble, she corrected, kissing him again. But while they tangled on the couch, Adrian's phone buzzed a second time. Then a third. Across town, Richard poured himself a drink in his penthouse suite. Victoria leaned against the window, city lights glittering around her. They think they've won, she said softly. Richard smirked. Let them enjoy it. Tomorrow, Carver will call with his decision. And when he does, he raised his glass. Adrian Cole won't know what hit him. Victoria's smile was razor sharp. And neither will Maya.